Without the manners,
media
Stephanie.
with this nonsense. Brian, do you believe that this tweet risks overshadowing what everybody claims they want here, a chance of solving this standoff diplomatically?
Absolutely, because the risk of miscalculation is enormous. Trump may be acting in some sort of contorted strategic way, trying to make people think he's crazy, but they may actually think that he is and launch a preemptive strike. They may miscalculate. America may miscalculate and think that a preemptive strike is imminent. So with all of these variables, with nuclear weapons involved, the President of the United States is rolling the dice. And if you look at the totality of all the tweets from yesterday, it is impossible to come to the conclusion that there's a steady pair of hands in the White House managing a major international crisis with nuclear weapons involved.
Okay, then, Jeremy, I want to share what Secretary of State Rex Tillerson said about North Korea's nuclear program back in December, and then what Nikki Haley said just yesterday. Because when we're talking about what this administration, if this administration is on the same page, when I listen to Tillerson and Nikki Haley, it doesn't sound that way. Take a listen.
I don't think it's not realistic to say we're only going to talk if you come to the table ready to give up your program. They have too much invested in it. And the president's very realistic about that as well.
We won't take any of the talk seriously if they don't do something to ban all nuclear weapons in North Korea. We consider this to be a very reckless. We don't think we need a Band-Aid, and we don't think we need to smile and take a picture. We think that we need to have them stop nuclear weapons, and they need to stop it now.
So which is it, Jeremy? Rex Tillerson or Nikki Haley?
Yeah, I think the way to square the circle, the difference between these positions is that we support denuclearization, but we're prepared to talk about anything, anytime, without preconditions. And I think that's what the Secretary of State was trying to convey. The problem is, Stephanie, is that each time the Secretary of State has gone out there and tried to pursue diplomacy, he's been undercut by his own president, by the Commander-in-Chief, who tweeted, Rex, don't bother. Diplomacy is going to fail, and there's only one thing that will take care of this, again, implying preemptive military action. I do think that 2018 is going to see a major decision point for the Trump administration, whether to undertake preemptive military action against North Korea's nuclear and missile program. And what I think the tweet last night signaled was that not only is conventional force on the table by the United States military, but in fact nuclear force is on the table. That's really crossing a Rubicon. That's going to a very dangerous place that nobody's gone before, certainly no American president has gone before.
David, you wrote in an op-ed in the LA Times about America's foreign policy problems here. And you said one of the issues is that we believe being the #1 superpower is our God-given right, not something that has to be earned. Talk us through that, because just this morning when I wake up to read that China is investing over $2 billion in an artificial intelligence plant, center, it makes me concerned that while we're dancing around this Twitter nonsense, you've got other countries truly focused on becoming a superpower.
No, I think it's true. I think when I saw that story, I actually tweeted out while Nero tweets, China is doing this, building AI programs, and I really believe that with
AI is the superpower of the future.
And AI will transform defense, will transform economies. And I think with every tweet that Donald Trump offers out there, we fall and other powers rise. And I think that that's something that we have to take very seriously. There's a lot of talk around these tweets where people say, well, the appearances are bad, it's embarrassing. That's not the problem. The problem is how people react to the tweets, how adversaries react to them, how rivals take advantage of them, how allies are made unsteady by them, and that's what's happening. These tweets are like acid eating away at the foundations of American strength in the world. And that could get worse. Because, as we look at this today, we see, well, maybe the reason that Trump was doing this was that there is a book coming out. And in the book, which was reported in The Guardian today, Steve Bannon calls the meeting at Trump Tower that Don Jr. was in treasonous. He goes to a new level where people within the Trump camp are turning on Trump. And if that's what makes him nervous, if that's what makes him lash out at the world, and with Mueller on his trail and these other things happening, that's a very worrisome scenario for the planet.
It's worth pointing out that Go back to February 2016 when there was a GOP debate, I believe in New Hampshire, right after North Korea had just issued a test. It's a question by the moderator saying, would you support a preemptive strike against North Korea? There was a whole bunch of Republicans on that stage who said yes. Jeb Bush said yes. Ted Cruz hinted at perhaps yes. A bunch of people said yes. Donald Trump did not. He was about the most restrained in that group at that time. Just hold on one second. It's in terms of America seeing for itself this role of being the global superpower, we are always thinking of ourselves as the country that must be the ones to stop people from gaining nuclear weapons. This has been a bipartisan push for 20 years. It hasn't worked really well in 20 years. It's been a muddle for sure, but
Matt,
we're always assuming that role for ourselves in the world. I think it leads to some of this brinksmanship.
Matt, you cannot go back in history and point to anything President Trump has said in the past and hang your hat on it. It was President Trump himself who said in the last year to John Dickerson at CBS, I don't stand for anything. He changes his tune every day. Brian, I want you to weigh in because you talk so much about the risks about President Trump and his authoritarian-like behavior. To David's point, what are the risks around the world of President Trump's tweets, the things he says, and how other countries respond to it?
Well, it's destroyed our relationship with allies, and it's destroyed America's credibility. I mean, you see the Pew Research survey from June of 2017 showed that between President Obama and President Trump, confidence in U.S. leadership fell 75% in Germany, 71% in South Korea, 70% in France, 57% in the UK, and 54% in Japan. That was last June. So since then, there's a lot of stuff that has caused allies in places like here in London to question whether the U.S. is a reliable partner and to conclude that probably not, that they no longer are. And so I think, when we think about our place in the world, Trump's tweets matter. They are presidential statements, and they carry the weight of American credibility, and he is diminishing the office he holds every day, and in consequence, diminishing our country's reputation in the rest of the world.
Okay, well, Jeremy, let's say I'm a true Trumper. I might respond to Brian's comment saying, oh, those numbers, those statistics around the world, don't buy them. You shouldn't have listened to the polls. Don't listen to those numbers. And who cares what the people around the world think? We're America and America first. Those same people who believe that believe in President Trump and Don Jr. They also believe in Steve Bannon. Steve Bannon, in the piece that David was just talking about, Michael Wolff's new book, he is quoted saying, they, meaning Robert Mueller, are going to crack Don Jr. like an egg on national TV. How worrisome should a comment like this from Steve Bannon to Team Trump? Crack an egg. Painful.
Yeah, I think, Stephanie, as earlier referenced, the president, whenever he feels a bit cornered, seems to lash out with these taunts, these attacks, these tweets. And I do think that you have seen since December 3rd, and that was the day that Mike Flynn pleaded guilty and it was announced that he would be cooperating with the special counsel and testifying and offering evidence against the president and against the president's inner circle. Since that day, you've seen the president really lose it over the Mueller investigation, lash out, try to attack Mueller. He's had his allies on Capitol Hill try to undermine the Justice Department. Yesterday actually began with a tweet not against North Korea, but against the men and women of the United States Department of Justice who actually protect and defend all of us, regardless of whether you're Democrat or Republican. So we're in for a long road here.
A long road. Remember, I thought this investigation was going to be wrapped up by the end of the year. I guess I got to get a new calendar.